I claim I'm 5'1", but I think it's disputed. Our next speaker is Kathleen Murphy from the Illinois Opportunity Project. I think it also has something to do with Dan Prof, I'm told. Kathleen's their communications director. They're doing some amazing issues and bringing these issues to light in Illinois. And the topic for Kathleen tonight is the new generation of voters. And as you can see, she's not only beautiful, young, but she is a very talented communicator. Here's Kathleen Murphy.
What would you think if I told you that the next generation in American politics would be a generation of free marketeers? Now, I realize that that might be a stretch when every week we see a new episode of Liberals Gone Wild on college campuses across the nation. But Reason.com recently conducted a study that found when asked to choose the best economic system, and they described each system, they didn't just say free market or socialist because, you know, we don't like labels. But in this study, 64% of millennials identified a free market system as the best economic system. The study concluded that while millennials like the market-based economic system in principle, they aren't sure if markets are the best way to improve their lives. And that uncertainty is a big factor in their outsized support for government action. See, millennials came of an impressionable political age during the worst economic recession since the Great Depression. A third of them are living at home with their parents. Gallup has reported that 1 in 3 young adults are underemployed, that 46% of millennials believe that they will be worse off than their parents' generation, and only 16% believe that they're going to be better off. For a lot of young people who haven't experienced or observed market-driven success, government action appears to be a viable alternative to improving the quality of their lives. Across the nation, it's an overwhelming sense of disappointment and a pessimistic view of the future that seems to be bridging the generation gap in spite of 8 years of the Hope and Change administration. We are witnessing a new generation, not just a new generation in American politics, but a new attitude towards American politics. Just look at the 2016 presidential race. There is an intense interest in non-traditional candidates, the political outsiders. People know that what we've had, career politicians, cronyism, big government in bed with big business, it isn't working. The quality of their lives has been declining for years now. They are demanding something new. And they're willing to consider somebody that's been outside of the political establishment over the experience of a Bush or a Clinton. During the Fox Business debate, Carly Fiorina nailed it when she said, the truth is government has been growing bigger and bigger, more corrupt, less effective, crushing the engine of economic growth for a very long time. This isn't just about replacing a Democrat with a Republican now. This is about actually challenging the status quo. Voters from both parties are fed up. They're tired of career politicians and broken promises. For liberals who are supporting Bernie Sanders, they're tired of being told they'll get a minimum wage increase and it never happening. For conservatives who are supporting Donald Trump or Ben Carson, they're tired of being told they're going to get a tougher stance on immigration or a repeal of Obamacare and it never, ever happening. Whether the issue is trade, tax policy, minimum wage, corporate regulation, abortion, school prayer, or super PACs, the voter loses nearly every time, and they are tired of losing to those with more influence and clout. The rise of the outsiders is a result of frustration. It should serve as a lesson to both parties about what can happen when they ignore their voters. The success of Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, Carly Fiorina, and Ben Carson represent the real friction between the American people and the political class. But under the right conditions, that friction can ignite a new generation in American politics. And that friction can ignite an opportunity to unleash liberty and the opportunity that it provides in our state and in our nation. On November 9th, Ed Morrissey reported in hotair.com that a new poll from a Democrat pollster showed that the risk for the left is actually much greater than assumed. The poll showed that while there's an opportunity for Democrats to take over the Senate in 2016, millennials, a key demographic, are barely engaged in the election. In the article, Morrissey states, Hillary Clinton has been around Washington, D.C. for 23 years and counting. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrat leadership team has been around longer than that. How does one sell Hillary and Pelosi as the vanguard of reform? Barack Obama could make that claim in 2008 because of his youth and his relative detachment from Washington, D.C. Without that kind of candidate, Democrats become the party of the status quo, and that is not going to sell among the rising American electorate. Republicans, however, have several routes to making themselves the reform option. In this election, our challenge and our opportunity is to make a compelling case for free markets and to introduce the optimism that is born of the only economic system in the world that has ever lifted 1 billion people out of poverty and raised the standards of living globally. So how do we capitalize on this opportunity? And what, since this is a Women in Politics panel, what is the role women will play? And this is an important question for Republicans because in the last election, we got it all wrong. In 2012, the Obama campaign, while beating the drum of the war on women, released an infographic featuring a woman they called Julia, who to illustrate the key role that they believe government should play from cradle to grave in a woman's life. This was a depressing, insulting view of women as helpless, isolated wards of the state. It was very revealing of the liberal mentality towards women, and it should have been resoundingly rejected by American women. But conservatives missed the opportunity to present a strong, contrasting view for the vision of the role of government in a woman's life. Julia didn't just represent women's issues. Julia represented liberty issues. Republicans failed to push back effectively against Julia and the larger war on women, and it was a missed opportunity. The very premise of a war on women is that women always benefit when government grows and assumes more power, and that women always suffer when government frees people to make their own decisions. The war on women ignores the real effects that policy has on women's lives and on our opportunities. But more than that, it wasn't just meant to tilt the American people towards one set of policy ideas or another. It was meant to silence debate, casting those who disagreed, who believe in limited government, as sexists. The attack needed a strong response that demonstrated our belief that not only are women capable, intelligent, and caring, but that they are also powerful forces in the economy. And it needed to advance the truth that the real threat to women's advancement and security is a government that discourages job creation through overregulation and taxation, a government that disincentivizes the family, a government that subsidizes an inherently flawed education system, or a government that advances a costly and ineffective healthcare system. We have to push back hard against these limiting ideas and speak with moral clarity about women's issues and all issues, not just fiscal issues, because those who peddle big government won't stop. And then we need to make the case for free market solutions. And as women, we can be particularly effective messengers for this cause. A study on decision-making and values by Emily Ankins of the Reason Foundation and Jonathan Haidt, who's famous for his research on liberals versus conservatives, examined the roles that systemizing versus empathizing, reason versus empathy, played in the decision-making process of liberals, conservatives, and libertarians. They found that empathy was the dominant value for both liberals and conservatives, liberals to a greater extent, but really there was not that much of a difference between the two. Libertarians, on the other hand, operated almost entirely on reason, except for libertarian women, who the study found demonstrated a natural tendency toward empathy on key issues. So they concluded that for libertarians, learning to empathize might be a more effective way to convert people to a liberty-oriented mindset. Nina Whitfield, founder of an organization that I'm involved with called the Ladies of Liberty Alliance, took it one step further. Her conclusion was that because of their natural tendency toward empathy, libertarian women can make a more appealing case to conservatives, independents, and persuadable Democrats. And therefore, it's women who will be critical to building liberty within the Republican Party and in orienting the next generation to the causes of liberty and economic freedom. So how's that for girl power? Now, we as women might be the most effective vehicles for the message, but we have to get the message right in the first place. Now, I'm here tonight as a representative of the Illinois Opportunity Project. Our work is to train what we call liberty leaders, candidates, activists, legislators, community leaders, to advocate for free market ideas. Illinois Opportunity Project was founded by John Tillman, Pat Hughes, and Dan Proft. Dan, who is one of the smartest people we know, he's able to hang in with the three of us on an almost daily basis, so pretty good. It's pretty good. He has developed a challenge that we ask everyone we work with to take up. He believes that our task, in terms of the conversation we have to have in 2016, is to define not just what we're going to do, but to define why we're going to do that. And you may have heard him talk about it. The idea comes from Simon Sinek, an ad exec, who said, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So when you hear Republicans talk about candidates, you hear credentials, what he does, where she went to school, or what they're going to do when they're elected. Cut taxes, cut government, rein in spending. It's all about what we're going to do, and we rarely define why. So think about it. Why are you a Republican? Why are you a Libertarian? Why are you at a Heartland event on a Wednesday night when you could be home watching Modern Family? That's what people need to know to buy into what you're doing. And you need to lead with that. Now, I've had to think about this because I get it all the time from my college girlfriends or from liberal family members who I think are planning an intervention, actually. You're a young woman. Republicans are old men. They don't want to help you. Or, so you think my boss shouldn't have to pay for my birth control? That was a tough conversation. Or my favorite, are you doing this to meet men? It's enlightened, right? Enlightened, yes. So I assure you I'm not, and so I will share with you why I, as a woman, as a single mother, actually do what I do. And on behalf of the Illinois Opportunity Project, I invite you and I challenge you to do the same. So here it is. A few years ago, when I found myself a single mom, I needed to go back to work full-time. And like a lot of people, I needed someone to take a chance on me. I'll be forever grateful to Jeanne Ives, who took that chance and made me her legislative aide. It was the best way to go into politics in Illinois, if you have to go into politics in Illinois. When we lost my dad suddenly, we relied on the strength of our family and our faith, but we were also lifted up by the kindness of friends, coworkers, and neighbors. I do what I do because I don't want the government to intrude on our lives so much that we lose our sense of responsibility to each other. I believe that we were meant to care for each other, not to turn our loved ones over to a homogenized bureaucracy. It's not the government's job to help my brother or my daughter or my grandmother. That's my job. That's not to say that there's no role for government creating a safety net to help people through times of trouble, but we shouldn't accept the idea of government as our key source of security. I do what I do because I haven't given up on the concept of Americans as a free, independent people who are capable of taking care of themselves and each other. Karen Lewis, the president of the Chicago Teachers Union, once said this: "We cannot be held responsible for the performance of the children in our classrooms because too many of them come from poor and broken families." As a single mother, I'm horrified by that mentality. Each year in Chicago, we send 400,000 students into a school system that will fail to bring the majority of them to grade level achievement by June. Liberals like Karen Lewis might be prepared to dismiss and disregard children because of their circumstances, but I'm not. I do what I do because I know that no one of us is better than any other of us, and I know that each of us has been given unique gifts and talents, and that every child in CPS and across the nation has great potential. I want to help unlock that potential. I want to see children realize a better life than the one they were born into. A feminist is a woman who lives the life she chooses. She may have 5 children and choose to homeschool them. She may be a leader in government like Jeanne or work in the media like Amy. I do what I do because I know that our principles, the principles of liberty and freedom, are what will lift women up so they can live the lives they choose, lives of dignity and purpose, which is what everyone, women and men, want. The next generation, the generation that embraces free market principles, the generation that's rebelling against the status quo of career politicians, will have arrived when every woman and man can decide for themselves how to best find and use their God-given gifts. That generation is willing to listen. They are willing to consider new ideas. It's up to us to be the messengers, speaking with clarity, enthusiasm, and substance about the ideas of liberty and the opportunity it creates. It's up to us to show the next generation the path to a better future with optimism, intelligence, and authenticity. If we can do this, then the next generation will be a generation of free marketeers. Thank you.